Welcome to the John 3:16 Stories of Hope podcast, where we talk to people who have overcome addiction and alcoholism at John 3:16 Ministries. I'm your host, Lisa Fisher. Now let's hear another inspiring story from a resident or graduate of John 3:16 Ministries. Oh, good, a girl. Not to say I haven't liked the guys, but I wanted a sister that I could talk to and I could hear her story. Tell me your name, where you're from, and I'm jumping in.
All right, I'm Jodi Mcleod. I'm from Crossit, Arkansas.
How long have you been? So you're at John 3
16.
16. Okay, well,
Yes, ma'am.
sometimes some people say 3:17. What is that?
That's another woman's ministry, but they opened up this one about 2 years ago for women here.
Okay, so you're on the property, the 300 acres there in Charlotte, Arkansas.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, it ain't ugly there.
Oh, no, it's beautiful here.
I'll just tell you. And from Crossit, Arkansas, that does not look like Crossit, Arkansas.
Not at all. We have a little mill in our town. It's about one stoplight.
Right.
It's real small.
You have a Sonic, which is more than Charlotte has.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
okay, tell me your journey, Jodi. How old are you? When did you get there? All that good stuff.
I'm 30 years old. I got here about 3 months ago, and I've just been here trying to get a relationship with God. Before I came here, I was a addict to pain pills and opiates I started drugs about 14 years old, but pain pills really came into the picture when I was about 19 years old. A doctor prescribed them to me, and I got addicted really quickly after. And then after that, it led up to fentanyl when fentanyl hit the streets.
You are thankful and lucky to be alive,
I sure am.
because in the last however many years, that has taken such a dangerous, deadly turn. So tell me who, not the name, I'm not pointing fingers, but what person or who introduced you, meaning a relationship, would introduce you to pills at 14?
One of my family practitioners in my hometown, he actually lost his license for malpractice,
Yeah.
for getting too many young kids addicted to the pain pills and benzos because, anxiety and all that was really introduced, like mental health problems. They started talking
Right.
about that a lot in school. And, so I was on Somas, Ambien, 7.5 oxycodones and all that at 19 years old. To the time I was 23 when I went to a different doctor and they took me off of them, which I was hooked at that point, so I went to the streets for it.
They didn't think of a way to gradually wean you off?
No, the doctor said, "You are 22 years old and you've been on this. That is way too much medicine for a woman your age." And he just snatched it all. He took everything, but he knocked my Xanax down to 0.5s, and I had been on bars for all those years. So that was the only thing he let me keep.
And even that wasn't enough because the load you had been ingesting was so great.
Yes,
And
I was numb.
Well, that's what we see too, Jodi. There is science involved to addiction. It's not like, and I mean, some people argue saying that it's the same dopamine hit you get with gambling or shopping or sex or anything else. But there's truly a physiological reaction when you have fed so much of this to any human, much less a young girl, and then you yank it from her. There is a physical reaction that only probably you could describe. When he did that, and that was not the best judgment for a provider, does he know then that you went to the streets?
No, he lost his license not long after that.
Was that the same guy? Oh, no, then I wonder what his thinking was, that he would dope you up and then just one day just say, we're done.
Well, at that time, I think he was just trying to keep himself out of trouble.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So when you went to the streets, is Crossit, Arkansas known as a hotbed of legal drug activity, or are all communities, and I'm just naive?
I wouldn't say it was worse than anywhere else because if you're looking for it anywhere you go, you're going to find it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can find it.
Yeah.
What's the best way that you were communicating then? Just social media, you could find it, word of mouth?
Probably Facebook.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy that we think of Facebook where we show pictures of our grandkids and sunsets, but the illegal activity that is completed in any communication process, especially something as easy as Facebook, There
Yeah.
you go.
Any social media platform, if somebody knows that you're doing it, they'll tell their friends and their friends tell their friends and then they're reaching out. Everybody just wants the money from it.
Okay, so that was early 20s. How long was it before you had your first scare? You either had an overdose or you had a suicide attempt. Tell me kind of the chronology of that.
I started getting arrested at 23 years old. I got into a lot of fights. I was just an angry person, and that's the way I took out my anything. If I couldn't find it, I would take out my aggression on other people. You know what I'm saying? Just going out into the world and being angry at everybody, like mad, like you can't give it to me. All right, well, I'm going to beat you up and I'm going to take it.
Where were your parents during all this?
Me and my dad have never had a relationship. He was only around me for like family activities or to like use me as a trophy, like, oh, this is my daughter, you know. My mom, she's always been in my life, but she's in church. She's a very religious woman. And so I would steer away from being around that side of my family because I knew that that's not how I wanted them to see me. My mom always tried to help me, but I never let her put God into my life. You know, I would run away from it any chance I could get because I knew what I wanted to be doing. I didn't want her to tell me I was doing wrong. You know, so I just went out there and did what I wanted to and avoided her phone calls to the point where I wouldn't even have a phone, so she couldn't reach me.
Oh. What were you doing for employment?
I've worked a lot of places. I would get jobs at fast food places. I worked at Walmart while I was using. I quit long enough to get the job.
Wait,
And
yeah, because I thought there's a lot of drug testing in big corporations like that.
they drug test you when you get in, but if you don't show suspicion while you're there,
Oh,
they don't they
they're not.
didn't they
Yeah,
didn't drug test me anymore, especially in my small town. Maybe in big places, you know, but
yeah.
in my small town, it was really there's everybody was addicted to something around there or weeds became legal around here. So it was they didn't do it as much because they couldn't lose their workers.
Yeah, right. The working population in
Yeah.
Crossett isn't probably
No.
what they were hoping for. Just small town anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not just Crossett, it's kind
Yeah.
of the small towns. Um, so arrest record, do you have one of those? I mean, most people who sit where you are, yes, they agree. So,
Well, the 6 months before I came in here, I had got arrested, 5 times for battery charges. I've never had a drug charge, but I've definitely carried a battery charge. I've had a DWI. I've D
are any of those felonies after a point? Okay, they're all
No, ma'am.
misdemeanors. So you didn't have to serve any time.
No, ma'am. The last one was gonna be a felony if it didn't get dropped by the person, the battery charge. It was gonna be like a repetitive thing where they were
Mhm.
gonna put me in jail for a year and send me
Wow.
off. But the guy that put it on me, ended up dropping it. So
Now, there are marriages, children, divorces, anything that I should know about?
I
Or
got
your
married.
listeners should know about?
I got married when I was 17 years old
Is that right?
to my high school sweetheart. I waited until we got married and then we had a child. I have a 9-year-old son and I also have a 4-year-old son, but I never got married again after that. It kind of ruined my aspect on marriage because I got cheated on a lot.
So you divorced.
At 20 years old, we were together.
Wow. Well, then that's a great segue into what do moms do who come to John 3:16 that have children? Does the state take custody of them?
No, both of my children, I have custody of my oldest son. I have joint custody with his father.
Okay.
He has a good stepmother. We have a really good relationship. His stepmother's my best friend. We've had ups and downs through my addiction. They had trouble with addiction before, but they've came to God. And
Wow.
before I came here, they actually were really supportive of me coming here. So I still get to see my 9-year-old every other weekend. When my mom gets him for my weeks that I'm supposed to have him, she brings him up here to see me.
So that's a 4 or 5 hour trip. 4
Well,
4-hour trip from Crossett, right?
Well, yeah, my mother lives in Jacksonville, Arkansas, so she
Okay.
drives to Crossett, gets him, drives all the way up here, and then takes him back on Sunday for me to see him. So my mom's like a really
Oh,
a
she's an
blessing.
angel.
Yeah.
She's an angel. And then the other child, do you see that child?
No, I lost custody of him and all of my about 4 months before I came here. Well, maybe longer than that. I was so out of it, I'm not gonna lie. I got served the papers. I couldn't even tell you what they said. I just know that I was mad at myself, really, so I couldn't even look at him. I was ashamed because I had fought for my oldest one so much, but I was so deep out of it that I didn't even go to court for my second one because I couldn't walk in there and embarrass him like that. I knew that I wasn't in the right place, and I knew that his dad was a really good man and that where he's at is where he needs to be until I get my life together. But God will work that out when I get out of here. I know that I'm a good mother. My oldest son still gets to see his brother, and that's all I'm worried about. As long as he's got my family, um, the time will come for me to see him again, and I'll be a totally different person than what he had before.
And where does he live?
He lives with his dad in Crossett.
In Crosset. So they're both in Crosset.
Yes.
Okay, you've been here in the program 3 months, you said, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, many people we talk to, or I know Brian will say it's 6 to 12 months. What do you think the time frame is in your mind?
Um, I was just talking about this earlier. My son thought I was coming for 6 months, but I told my mom before I left that it would probably be a year-long program for me. I don't know
Okay.
what God has in store for me. It will be when God opens a door for me or what I want to do, what he wants me to do. But I know myself, it took way longer to mess up my life. I was in my mess for a long time. So my mindset needs to be set right here so I can make a better life for my kid when I get out of there. And it's not going to be a time limit on that. It's going to be when it's time for me to get out of here and when God tells me, hey, this is what I want you to do. I know it'll be in his plan. It'll all work out for the better good, because if I try to rush it and walk out these doors, I'm going to put my hands in it and I'm going to mess it up.
Now, CrossFit is where your babies are, so that's where your heart is, but it's also where your addiction and your addictive past was. What do you think about, is that the
Uh,
best place for you to go back
I will
to?
not go back to
Okay.
Crossett, Arkansas. Probably not even Ashley County. Every time I hit that county line, it's like a weight hits my shoulders. Even when I have been to a program before. It was a 30-day program. It was not faith based. I stayed clean for a year and a half. And as soon as I crossed that county line going back over there, I felt a weight hit my shoulders. And it's been like that. I mean, I have multiple family members that are clean from addiction, and I have two family members that came here. You
Is
know, my
that right?
Yeah, my brother-in-law and my cousin, he graduated from here,
That's awesome.
and they prayed for me to come here. And my cousin told me the other day, he was like, "Don't go back." Every time I go across that county line to go to Hamburg or near Crossett, I just feel like I don't need to be there. So,
Um, Now tell me how your mama's done all this time. You said she was the religious side of the family.
my mother, me and my stepdad were in addiction together at the same time. He's been clean 7 years now. Um, my stepdad was somebody I used with, somebody I got
Mm.
drugs from. My mother did not know that for a long time, but I told her, and things went south. And me and my mom kind of lost our relationship for a while, and the trust factor of it. And then my stepdad, like he told me, he went to a 180-day program, which was prison. He had to go get clean sitting in prison.
Got it.
And so he just wanted, after he got out, he started going to church with my mother because he wasn't a religious man at all. My mom's been in church for 13 years. Um, he never went with her for the first.
So that was about the time you got married. Your mother
Yeah.
started developing a relationship with the Lord.
Yeah. Uh, she's been fully in church. She's went her whole entire life. The background of my family is my grandparents, my entire life are Pentecostal.
Is
So
that
it's,
right?
yeah. So, she's been, but like her real fully going hit about then. And my stepdad never would go with her. Um, I went every Sunday, regardless of the circumstance, for my mom. And then when I was living with her, I made sure to be at church and stuff. So I had God, like they say here, I had God on me, not in me. It was what I was supposed to do to make myself be around my family. Like I knew I had to go to church to be around my family. But I never listened and I never took it in. But like I said, me and my stepdad were in our addiction together, and so my mom had a rough time. Um, she just couldn't. She felt like the whole world was against her. She was doing everything right. She was praying. She was praying for both of us, and she just couldn't. She couldn't figure out why God wasn't helping her and
Oh,
her the person she loved and her daughter that she loved so much. Why do I have these two people that are addicted and I'm not? I've heard her say, sometimes it would get so hard on me that I would think, "Well, why don't I do it too if everybody around me's doing it?" But she stayed strong in her faith and she didn't, and I'm so glad that she was my rock in that. Um, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. I'll tell you that much.
What was your rock bottom that made you make the call? Now, you had 2 family members who'd been there, so you were introduced to the program. You'd been through a program, but what made you finally say, I'm in deep trouble?
I had a ex-boyfriend before I came here, 2 weeks before I came here. I woke up to my ex-boyfriend's mother standing over me, holding me, shaking me, asking me what I did to her son. We had used the same thing together, and he was on the ground and he was OD'd and he died. But they brought him back to life and he was in the hospital for a long time. They had to teach him how to walk, eat, um, everything, speak again. And I went to jail that night. They tried to charge me with attempted what was it? Something
Manslaughter?
something like, or attempted, I can't remember the exact words for it. Pretty much supplying him with drugs that made him
Oh,
OD.
yeah.
They were
But you
trying.
weren't the supplier. Why would they point the finger at you?
I had a bad reputation. I was a very angry person.
Was that in Ashley County?
Yeah, I would talk
Okay.
back to the
Yeah.
cops real
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Anytime they would try to arrest me, I would talk so bad to them on the way to jail. So they were looking for somebody to blame, and they wanted to get me so bad for something and keep me in jail that's what happened. And luckily, my grandfather called and knew the cop and asked the cop, "Did you find drugs on her?" And the cop said no. And my papa was like, "Well, you can't charge her with something if she didn't have the drugs on her. How do you know that she had them? Where were they?" And they were actually on his dresser in his closet, not on me. But they tried to say that they were mine.
So that was what night of the week was that? And then what day did you show up? Were you there one of the Sunday admissions?
Yes, this was the Tuesday prior to the Sunday that I came, so, like, 2 weeks prior. I had stayed in jail, like, 3 days, OR'd out, and then I had a warrant, and they came and picked me up again. Like, while I was in jail, I had a warrant. They didn't run it. And they came and picked me up again on a Thursday, and I told them that I had already made the call to John 3:16, that I'm getting out across it, that I had a plan to leave, that I was supposed to go that Sunday. They weren't gonna take me in the middle of the week. You have to go to a Sunday service. And um so the cop said, "Well, I'll talk to the judge." Well, when they picked me up on that warrant, he was like, "Are you going to cooperate?" Because I was like, "Are you going to cuff me?" And he said, "If you cooperate, no, just get in the back of the car." And so I was just done. At this point, I surrendered everything. I was like, "I'm going to get this behind me." I pretty much turned myself in. Yeah, I could have ran. I was on the way to take my kid to school, and they were waiting in my ex-husband's driveway
Is that
when they
right?
called me, and I told them to turn around and take me back because I was done running. I could have left and not went back and turned myself in, but I had a plan to come here, and I was finna do it. Like, I was done, and they
Were you
award.
broken though? Because you have a hard shell.
Yeah.
And you said because you were combative and had anger issues. Were you finally broken, do you think, at that point, and they saw it?
I was sleeping on my ex-husband and his wife's couch. I had nowhere to go. I had no family, I had no phone. I had not talked to any of my mom 6 months prior to this. We had a big falling out at my son's birthday party to the point where I got arrested at my 4-year-old son's birthday party for being combative to one of my neighbors.
And you were using that day, I would assume?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
I was very high at my son's birthday party, because his dad was coming to the party with his new girlfriend, and I had lived with my ex. He let me stay there after we broke up, and he would bring that new girlfriend over there. And then I finally moved in with the guy that OD'd, and was using with him. And he brought that new girlfriend over there, and I
That
was
was
trying not to fight her, and
yeah.
I ended up fighting one of the neighbors because I was so angry at her that I took it out on somebody that wasn't even involved.
Well, that's what happens. A lot of innocent people get in the way. That it shows too, Jodi, the unpredictability of addiction and alcoholism. I mean, you're and until you find Jesus, all of us are live wires, right?
Yeah. Ticking
And
time bombs.
yeah, ticking time bomb. All of us without Jesus, whether there's drugs involved or not. But add a component, like an opioid or something that could very well spark you into a fight that you were just at any moment ready to
Yeah,
blow,
yeah.
and you did. What do you think your anger's from? What's the root cause of that?
I think really my anger comes from, like, not being wanted, some way to get attention, uh, to feel like somebody was looking at me. Somebody was good. Like, either if it was good or bad, I didn't care. If I could, really, it was more or less if I'm going to get you before you can get me. Uh, and I grew up with my mom. She was in the military, so she would always say, if you feel threatened, handle it. And I took that to heart because she wasn't always in church, when I was younger.
Mhm,
They partied a lot, they drank a
mhm.
lot. I seen my mom whoop many a women when she was in the military. So just kind of like the background of things I seen. My dad's side of the family, every Christmas they fought. Like somebody was getting in a fight, somebody was going to jail.
The
So I
cops were
got
called.
yeah, I got real easy to stand on that defense mode all the time, so I knew I wasn't finna let somebody get me first, like, I couldn't, so I would just start it, finish it.
But what are the skills you are learning, emotionally to avoid that? And then professionally when you leave, because 'cause you're gonna need a job and you're
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
start over.
yeah. The skills I'm getting here is, patience, taking everything in. Um, I sit back and I watch the women that are around me. I'll tell you that, my instructors, these women are amazing women here. I look up to them a lot, and every day I watch them, and I know that like they say, there's nothing good in them. It's all God, and you can see that. You can see that as they walk. You can see that in their talk, and I strive to be held more accountable in things. I need somebody to hold me accountable for my actions because I never had that before. I held myself accountable, and I didn't know nothing but wrong. And here, if you're doing something, everything's constructive criticism. It's to help you be a better woman. So when you go out to a job or you go out in the world and you get called into the office and you get told you're doing something wrong, you don't have to be defensive about it. You can just correct it and go about it with grace instead of sitting there thinking, well, oh, they're out to get me. "Well, I'm just finna quit. I'm just finna give up." Is the longer you stick it out, the more you get out of this program. Because it doesn't come easy at first. It really doesn't. A lot of us, I'll tell you myself, I walked in here with a mask on because I do have a tough exterior. Uh, I've let it go because you can't let God in holding them burdens in your heart. You can't let God in when you're defensive towards other people that are here to try to help you. You didn't walk in this store to run this place on you. You can't come in here like you're going to do something or you got to give it all. You've got to give every fleshly thing around you and you've got to remain teachable. Remain knowing what you did was wrong and what you're doing here is you can see it in every instructor and person that runs this place. They're only here. They're here to love you. They're here to teach you right. They're here to help you, not hurt you. Because a lot of us don't have anybody out there, so we don't know how to take that. But here you've got it, and you've also got your sisters. I was a person that didn't have a lot of female friends. I live with 28 women. You get a roommate. You get somebody to help. Um, I recently just got a roommate because I'm 3 months in, and you get seasoned in. You've got poured into so much, and you get a chance to pour into women, and, it really makes you feel good when you have something good to say to somebody instead of something bad. Something that they look up to. Either it's being a hard worker or being a good listener or always going to your Bible to give them a scripture of something that'll help them throughout their day. Just everything here runs so smoothly, and it makes you really feel like you're a part of something.
That's because Jesus, John 3:16, the cure.
Yes.
Jesus is the cure.
Yes, he is.
And he is the cure, but he's curing because it continues
Yeah, every day.
every day. Well, I can't wait to hear your story in 9 months when you graduate,
Yes, ma'am.
and, I hope we get to interview you again, and,
Yes,
I
ma'am. That would
hope
be
you're
great.
reunited with your children. Um, I hope people listening can pray for your restoration for your family.
Yes,
You're
ma'am. That
doing
would be great.
you're doing a great job. Thanks for doing this
Thank
podcast.
you. It was nice meeting you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us for the John 3:16 Stories of Hope podcast, highlighting the community at John 3:16 Ministries in Charlotte, Arkansas. Be sure to share the episode. If you need more information, hop on their website, john316thecure.com, or find them on social media.